but we don't have a way of proving that at this point. In any event, we live in challenging, magnificent, wonderful times, and one of the major things that we have to deal with in our lifetimes is one we're dealing with right now, is the fact that we are not alone in the universe. And as we examine what we have done in the last 100 years, we are not any longer on a sustainable path. Maybe we never were, but we're not on a sustainable path now. Because thanks to our science and technologies, the Industrial Revolution really didn't get underway in a strong way until the middle of the 19th century, with the greats of science and the improved medicine and science in the late 19th century. And into the 20th century, all of a sudden it took off, with the population exploding from over 2 billion people at the beginning of the 20th century to 6.5 billion at the end of the 20th century, and where we are now. And it appears from the best evidence that this planet can sustain the lifestyle and consumption patterns of Western industrial society for only about 2 billion people. So we got a problem. And it's up to us on the forefront of all of this to help resolve these issues and find ways to get along together. And it's very clear that we must put away these notions that the way we get along is to kill each other, because our weapons that we have created thanks to the magnificence of our science and technologies in the 20th century, the weapons that we have created, if we don't learn to get along, we will surely use them on each other, and that will be the end of it altogether. So we in this room and those of like mind around us have an enormous challenge in the next few years if we're going to set the stage with our children and grandchildren to keep this civilization going and this planet going. The challenge is ours. And I thank you for joining me in that today. Thank you. Now, looking forward to any feedback, questions of our hostess and host. Steve?
Yes.
Where are you?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You want to get into questions immediately?
Whatever. How do you want to do? What's your program?
We have to pull that mic up.
Test.
You don't have any, that's fine too.
Oh, they got questions.
You got questions? Okay.
They got questions.
Okay,
You got questions? That's got answers.
So, obviously, I'll start off with a question.
Okay.
You're still getting warmed up. And this gentleman is following, then you all please join in. Look, obviously the first and foremost question, and understand. That was the question.
How do you stop positive feedback?
No, that was an alien language, Edgar.
Speaking in tones now?
Turn it off first? No, did you? No, I didn't do it. Check it, see if it takes the light. Green light. Right now, what? Nothing. Your desk.
Everybody heard that story? No, okay. Well, I grew up in Roswell, New Mexico, and my cousin who was with me here, playing assistant for me today, Edgar Mitchell, we grew up together in Roswell. Our grandfather was a prime cattleman in the area, selling registered Hereford bulls to the local ranchers. And of course, we knew everybody, he knew everybody in the Pecos Valley and well beyond. His nickname was Bull Mitchell because of his profession of selling registered bulls to local place Herefords to the local ranchers. And in a short period of time, we had farm machinery and a ranch and 2 farms. So he's a pretty good entrepreneur. In any event, of course, when the Roswell incident happened, the crash happened, I was a senior in high school, and naturally I was headed off for college, and as if you know the story, most of you do, it appeared in the Roswell Daily Record one day and disappeared the next, as you know, after the weather balloon. That was the official story. So I didn't think much about it at the time, even though the local lore was very strong that no, this was real stuff. But it was only after I went to the moon and came back and was doing a couple of lectures and visiting at home after going to the moon that some of what I call old-timers who have been involved in the Roswell crash peripherally, some in the sheriff's department, the undertaker's department, undertaker's office, and we had a friend that was at the Walker Air Force Base along with Jesse Marcel. He was in the administrative department. And those folks wanted to get the story off their chest and not carry it to their grave. And they considered me a trustworthy subject to tell their story to, because they couldn't tell it or wouldn't tell it because they were under threat. So I eventually took that story a few years ago to the Pentagon and asked at the level of the Joint Chiefs of Staff about it, told my story. And of course, long story short, had that confirmed that my story was correct, even though there were some people there, the admiral that I spoke to was himself unable to get clearance to go get into the project. But in any event, that's my story. It's why I'm confident in telling this is because the old-timers around Roswell, I have had no first-hand experience, even in the astronaut program. Saw nothing on the moon, no villages, no structures, etc., like I've been claimed, and have had no UFO experiences myself, except for the fact of meeting all of these fine research people, many of whom are here today, who've written books about it, decades, digging out the facts, plus my own experience with the old-timers who told me their story of the Roswell. And that's why, with my interest after my space flight and having an epiphany in space about the connectedness of everything, the interconnectedness of all things in the universe, life itself, and started my institute, the Institute of Noetic Sciences, which most of you know about, to bring the tools of science to understand the issue of why are we conscious at all? What is consciousness? Because as many of you are well aware, for 400 years since the time of René Descartes, who came to the conclusion that body, mind,